Well, all right. What we're looking at here is the text of the piece that I read yesterday from Mr. William Blake. And you'll recall that I had some difficulty. I think one of the reasons that I had the difficulty in singing this tune to that piece called Like a Rolling Stone, which happens to be the A side of the single upon which is inscribed, by virtue of the vinyl recording disc inscription process, the tune The Gates of Eden. And that particular tune perhaps, inspired the reading of this poem by Mr. William Blake. But as I was saying, that recording process upon which the vinyl disc is inscribed with these various ridges of different depths and widths, so that you can hear the music that vibrates as the stylist moves on a circular journey, from the outside to the inside of this disc. That process reminds me that the secret history of the phonograph record was never a part of that particular series titled I'm looking for something that refers to a circle here, and I can't find one. Well, build will have to do. All right. So that particular secret life of the phonograph was never part of that series, The Secret Life of Machines. I guess I was thinking that about all that, because you recall that it took quite a few takes and to get this piece down. And here's another one that doesn't refer to machines, but it does refer to work. And I think it was a third take. And of course, Secret Life of Machines made reference to Take 5, the Dave Brubeck tune, and the significance of that piece in relationship to this series is somewhat interesting. And I guess, Take 5 reminded me of those dancing refrigerators in episode 5, which is not a take, rather it's a designated number in a series. That was the first series. I believe it was recorded in or at least it was aired in 1988. I'm not sure, but in the 5th episode, in the epilogue of the 5th episode, looking for a word now. Might have to pause here because I'm looking for a word that refers to epilogue. End will do. Can't find anything good. I was getting distracted by the double nature of the duty here because, as you know, we're filming and looking for words that belong to the discourse that we're uttering, and we're uttering at the same time, and that creates these areas of interesting synchronization that open up the possibilities of interpretation in various ways. If one is looking for that sort of intersection and that kind of thing between the seen and the heard, or the unheard and the unseen, and that rise out of that interesting connection and relationship, forming all these fair matters of interest that may not be perfect, but within which forms definitely do appear. And in any case, these dancing refrigerators, I wonder if they could teach those refrigerators that was doing the dancing, if they could do the waggle dance and politicize those refrigerators in that and they could, we could do a piece if they could teach those refrigerators the waggle dance. We could do a piece with the dancing refrigerators, and I could be reading. I can be reading another Blake. I probably wouldn't choose this one. I'll choose. I'll think about that one. I'll think about choosing a piece in which those refrigerators in Series 1, Episode 5 of The Secret Life of Machines are doing a waggle dance and directing the refrigerators somewhere to some political event or rally, and then we will follow that up with these refrigerators arriving at that rally. Let's say it's a rally for women's rights or voting rights, and these refrigerators could show up, and that'd be an interesting piece too, performing in the form of these refrigerators, or it wouldn't have to be refrigerators if there's another episode that I'm perhaps forgetting from The Secret Life of Machines in which some other appliance or mechanical device is doing a dance. We could certainly use that one. Anyway, Aaron was complaining a lot about my performance of this particular tune, and as I said, noted that it took me several takes, which if you added all of those takes up together, I believe would refer to the number 6. And if, of course, Mr. Brubeck never wrote a tune called Take 6, but I believe episode 6 in The Secret Life of Machines was The Secret Life of the Television Set. So if we wanted to make reference to my performance of this particular poem from the 7th night of Four Zoas, then we could send maybe some dancing televisions to one of these political rallies and have these televisions, which are now somewhat archaic, aren't they? Don't know if everyone owns a television any more than they own a phonograph record set that around which those little vinyl discs spin, and with their grooves, right? Or what was that word that Emily Dickinson uses? That word that derives from, I think etymologically, the word groove results from a word that means grave. Emily Dickinson has a poem about these grooves that are formed by the downpouring rain and the movement of water across the land. But she's not talking about that. She's talking about freedoms of the mind, and freedoms of the mind are a very Blakeian thing. So we'll have to make reference to that poem at some point in a more significant way, and talk about the grooves and the way those grooves in Emily Dickinson in that poem are used in a very different way than they're used in this piece that certainly could have been part of The Secret Life of Machines, but that never was The Secret Life of the phonograph record. And in any case, the reason that we're looking at this, and as I wanted to justify some of the difficulties that I had, and the way I'm going to do that is I thought we could copy and paste this piece into the Flesch Kincaid calculator. Here we are. Aaron informs me that so far we've looked at a poem by utilizing this calculator. We've determined that the poem by Robert Duncan, Often I'm Permitted to Return to a Meadow, should not be taught at the 3rd grade level, which you can teach breakdown through. There may be some content restrictions, but you can teach can teach that Jim Morrison lyric at the third grade level, but not Robert Duncan. Okay, so let's see what we got here. This is going to be in some way a justification of all those takes that I had to make yesterday. Oh, I'm not sure this is the best calculator. Okay, so according to this particular calculator, this is a Flesch Kincaid grade level 4 text that scores 85.9 and can be taught at the 6th grade level. So that's good to know. If this is accurate, then has 18 sentences and 195 words, and average words per sentence is 10.8. Is that true? Let's see. Let's recalculate. Well, and she went forth and saw the forms of life and of delight, walking on mountains or flying in the open expanse of heaven. That's more than 10 words. She heard sweet voices in the winds and in the voices of birds. Oh, I see what the problem is. Problem is we got these capitals, and every time it reaches a capital, it's identifying a sentence. That's a new sentence it's identifying right here. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do, let's just make this simple. We're gonna have to go through, mark all of these, change these. All right, I hope I have something to say while I'm doing all this work. Maybe I could talk more about how we go about training those TVs and refrigerators. How we train them, the waggle dance. Okay, well, let's begin with this idea of a thermostat. And thermostat's not being very smart. And I believe that idea of thermostat's not being very smart came from, well, this is a name, but we'll just go ahead and not risk it. This idea of thermostat's not being very smart came from, it's kind of a joke that I believe belongs to the community of AI, which is a representation of artificial intelligence. Okay, so you've recognized some machines as being smart, that is in possession of intelligence, and some machines being whatever the opposite of smart is. I don't want to use a word that might get censored, like my good friend Lizzo, got censored for using the word spaz in her song, or at least, criticized significantly. I wonder if that word is going to give us trouble here. Well, I think that's yeah, that definitely would have given us trouble, because I'm a little distracted by my discourse on artificial intelligence. And some of the digressions that appear within that discourse. But, oh, here's another problem. I'm not even sure this is going to be a text that this machine is capable of understanding. But anyway, that joke about the thermostat arises because there are certainly machines that, and I know there's a word in here, that do work, right? There's a word work here somewhere, and they make things. They perform tasks and they do work, and some even make things, but that doesn't necessarily constitute intelligence, because they aren't recording information from their environment. And the joke among AI is that a thermostat can be defined as a form of intelligence, an intelligent entity, right? Because it picks up information from the environment, and the work that it performs relates to its understanding of that information that it receives from its environment. But and the part that creates the humor, the irony, is that well, of course, thermostat, isn't very smart, and the only information that it can gather is what temperature it is at the time, and the only way that it can utilize this information is by doing exactly what it was programmed to do, which is recall the reason we were changing all these capitals into lowercase is because I've inferred, and I may be mistaken, but that this program is misidentifying these capitals as the beginnings of sentences and skewing its argument in favor of our third grade reading. We did not have that problem in Break On Through because we identified all of the sentences and there were no extraneous capitalizations. I may be making some errors here, and I may have misinterpreted that word "though" as "through," but I was trying to grasp its syntactical relationship to the semantic content that it articulates. Oops, I'm forgotten to miss. There's a convention here that's utilized by Blake that is the capitalization of each initial line segment. And of course, those line segments are based on a kind of meter, and that meter isn't exactly the meter that was used in Like a Rolling Stone, but it was, we attempted to bend it. Oops, that one needs to be capitalized. So I go back and we do that one. The other difficulty that we're having here is, in addition to my doing double duty on, oops, don't know what just happened there, but didn't want that. Doing double duty on describing the intelligence of mechanical devices, as well as this task, then I'm also having to negotiate the fact that as I'm looking at this thing through the camera and filming it with one hand, I'm doing something else with the other hand. Oops. This one needs to get recapitalized. Can't overgeneralize about these lines because some of these lines do begin a new sentence and some of them do not. You gotta look for punctuation clues and syntax clues and other things going on, and then if you're doing double duty and talking about, it's kind of like for a dyslexic or dysgraphic, the process of writing, in and of itself, is so difficult that you lose track of what you're writing about, and people that don't have, I always hesitate before the word disability because I don't like the way that word participates in the medical model, right, of cognitive difference. And so people always say, well, why don't you just say neuroatypical? Why all this trouble with that word? Why not just, that's a convention now. Just say neuroatypical. Why not just say it? Just say it. Don't make all this fuss and always be pausing and trying to figure out what it is. And it's like, well, that's too easy, isn't it? Because neuroatypical also sounds to me a little too close to that medical model. And we try to avoid words like that. And then people are always going to have trouble and say, well, you're just a stutterer. You're just a stammerer. You can't get through a sentence. And it's like, well, the reason we can't get through a sentence is because all these words are so damn problematic. And we prefer not to choose the wrong word just because it sounds right and it's the convention, and ignore all the ideological baggage that word has because it's what we use now, you know. Like, don't say manic depression, say bipolar. Don't say depression, say this. Don't. It's almost like one of those tricky contracts. You know, can't kill him in the day, can't kill him in the night. We're going to have some problems here, I can see, because there's a lot that has to be revised. This might have not been the best text to choose for this, but I was going to send this back to Aaron and justify the difficulties. I certainly can't justify my difficulties with Aaron if this calculator is claiming that I can't read at the 6th grade level. All right, here we go. Oh my goodness. Well, that I think just made it worse. We did change the score, but not by much. I'm not sure about this calculator now. Now I'm even questioning whether break on through can be taught at the 3rd grade level. Well, let's see what I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna recopy this. I'm gonna reset and put back in. Try it out now. No, I'm still getting 6th grade. Well, if this is in fact right, we should be able to teach the 4 zoas to your 6th grade class. Okay, Hedgehog, this is a contract in V through theta. Aaron asked me to take a little bit of time out from, I'm in the process of repairing our thermostat, and address this issue that you're having with this word, THO apostrophe here, and why you wanted to misinterpret it as the word through. And your error in wanting to misinterpret this word as through, though it is in fact though, right, with the missing UGH, and not an error on Blake's part, that error of yours results from the editor of this particular passage's error here in placing a period after the word name, right? And in fact, that should not be a period at all. And you'll notice that what this does is it placing the period there, which may result in part from the convention of capitalization at line initial position here, which Blake is following. In part, right? And in part, a misunderstanding and a misconstrual of the sentence that begins with she here. She heard sweet voices in the winds, comma, and in the voices of birds that rose from waters. These birds rose from waters, for the waters were as the voice of Luva, not seen to her like waters, right? Just like the way in that Robert Duncan poem, these things made from what seem to be the mind, but are made from or appear, right, appear to be this, but in fact are something else. Not seen to her like waters, or like this dark world of death, right? And then the though all those fair perfections which men know only by name. Now, of course, the though doesn't make sense if you place the period there, does it? But if you ignore that period, which is an error on the part of the editor and publisher, and go on to the next line, though in all those fair perfections which men know only by name, in beautiful substantial forms appeared and served her as food or drink or ornament, or in delightful works to build her bowers, then in fact you have a complete sentence. And you'll also note, Hedgehog, that if you regard this period after the noun name as correct, then you'll have a sentence fragment here in the following sentence, because it will read, in beautiful substantial forms appeared and served her as food or drink or ornament, or in delightful works to build her bowers. And then the preposition in, right, gives you trouble, because you'd have to, in order for that to make sense as a syntactically correct sentence in and of itself, you would have to begin with this noun phrase, beautiful substantial forms. Now, if you did that and you nixed the in, then you would have a sentence. Beautiful substantial forms appeared and served her as food or drink or ornament, or in delightful works to build her bowers. But you don't have that, do you? Right, Hedgehog? So, in fact, if you just simply get rid of that period, imagine the sentence beginning with she and ending with bowers, then this word makes perfectly good sense as though.